All right, if you've got a desk job and you know that all too familiar nerve pain that runs down your leg, then you know the frustration. You've probably tried standing more, only to feel totally punished for it by the end of the day. Well, today, we're not talking about just trying harder. We're talking about a repeatable, low-risk plan that can actually work. Let's build it together. And this quote it nails it, doesn't it? The goal isn't some heroic, all-day standing marathon. No way. It's about creating a sustainable rhythm that stops that dreaded late afternoon pain from even showing up. It's about a pattern that actually respects your body's limits. So, let's just toss out that old advice that's probably failed you before. Vague stuff like, just move more. What does that even mean? Instead, we're going to focus on tiny, frequent changes. And rather than punishing yourself by standing for hours on end, we're building a simple, repeatable pattern. It's a much smarter and honestly a much calmer way to approach this. So here's our game plan. We'll start by understanding the desk job pain trap. Then we'll build your no-flare rulebook, find your personal trigger, and I'll walk you through a simple starter plan. After that, we'll make it Workday-proof and finish with your next concrete step. Okay, so the desk job pain trap. It's really all about extremes, isn't it? You're either sitting all day because you have to work, or you're standing all day out of guilt. The thing is, sciatica hates both. So the key here isn't trying harder, it's about finding a rhythm right there in the middle. And that brings us to a huge mindset shift. We're moving away from relying on sheer willpower and moving towards a predictable system. And listen, the goal here isn't a zero pain day. That's often not realistic. The goal is to stay just underneath the line where your nerve starts to really complain. Let's define this really important concept, the flare line. Think of it like a threshold. It's that point where mild, ignorable symptoms start to ramp up and become a much bigger problem. Our entire strategy, everything we're talking about, is about making small, frequent changes to stay below this line all day long. Now, this is so useful because it takes those vague feelings and turns them into actual data. So, green, that's your good zone. You might have mild symptoms, but they disappear as soon as you move. Yellow is your warning light. Symptoms are climbing, and they're sticking around for a bit. And red, that's your hard stop. A sharp spike in pain, symptoms traveling farther, or any new weakness. This is how you check in with yourself. And this is probably the single most important rule of this whole system. It's so true. If you wait until you feel that significant pain to get up and move, the flare-up is probably already happening. You're playing catch-up. That's why we have to be proactive. We're going to use a timer as our alarm clock, not our pain. Okay, now let's make this personal, because this is where most one-size-fits-all advice just completely falls apart. It assumes everyone's the same. Your body is unique, so we've got to figure out what specifically irritates your nerve. And here's a super simple 5-minute experiment you can do right now at your desk. First, just sit for 2 minutes and notice. What do your symptoms do? Do they climb, stay flat, ease up? Then stand for 1 minute and notice the same thing. And finally, take a slow 1-minute walk and observe again. You're not trying to fix anything, you're just gathering data. So based on that little test, you'll probably fall into one of these 3 camps. If sitting made things ramp up quickly, you're sit limited. If standing was the real problem, you're stand limited. And if both of those felt kind of risky and only walking brought relief, you're both limited. See? Knowing this is huge because this is what allows you to actually customize the plan. All right, now for the action plan itself. And I want to be clear, this is not a massive lifestyle overhaul. Think of it as your first low-stakes experiment for a calmer workday. And the commitment is tiny. We're just going to run one 90-minute pilot test. That's it. Not the whole day, not forever, just one clean, focused experiment to see how your body responds to a controlled, predictable pattern. So this is our default loop, 20 minutes of sitting, and by that I mean neutral and relaxed, followed by a 2-minute stand where you keep your knees soft, maybe shift your weight around a bit. Then, and this part is crucial, a 2-minute reset. That could be a gentle walk or just moving away from your desk to let your back muscles stop bracing. Then you just repeat that cycle. And here is where that personal trigger test you did comes into play. If you found out you're sit limited, well, you're going to shorten the sitting time. Maybe you try a 15-minute sit instead of 20. If you're stand limited, you'll do the opposite and shorten the standing time, maybe down to just 1 minute. You get to adjust the dose based on your own data. Okay, so let's be real. A plan is only good if it can survive an actual workday, right? With the back-to-back meetings and the surprise deadlines. So how do we make this pattern stick when life and your calendar get messy?
This table right here is your cheat sheet for avoiding those common traps. So instead of standing for a whole hour trying to make up for sitting, just do these little micro stands for 1 to 3 minutes. Instead of waiting for pain to tell you what to do, switch on a timer. And please forget that rigid, overcorrected posture. Just aim for a soft, neutral, breathable position. These simple swaps make a massive difference. This captures a powerful lesson that came from a real 45-minute meeting. Trying to stand perfectly for the whole thing, it ended in pain. Trying to sit perfectly also ended in pain. The solution that actually worked, just quietly alternating between sitting for a bit, standing for a bit, and taking a quick walk. Nobody in the meeting even noticed, but the nerve did. It just proves that a sustainable pattern beats a perfect but heroic posture every single time. All right, let's bring this all together and give you your next move. We're going to outline a super simple plan for tomorrow morning and, just as importantly, cover the critical signs for when you absolutely need to stop experimenting and seek professional help. And I have to be crystal clear here. This is non-negotiable. If you experience any of these symptoms, new trouble with bowel or bladder control, numbness in that saddle area, or leg weakness that's getting worse quickly, this is not the time for a sit-stand schedule. This is the time to seek urgent medical attention, period. So here it is, your concrete takeaway. Tomorrow, just find one 90-minute window. Set a repeating timer for that 20/2/2 loop, run the pilot test, and when it's over, just log one single line. Was that block a green, yellow, or red experience? That's it. That is your entire task. It's strategic, not dramatic. And I really want to leave you with this final thought. We get so trapped chasing this idea of a perfect, pain-free day. And it usually just leads to frustration. But what if we shifted the goal? What if success wasn't about perfection at all, but simply about finding a calm, sustainable pattern that you can repeat day after day?